Zulfi Bhutto of Pakistan, His Life and Times by Stanley Walpert. Chapter 9. President Bhutto picks up the pieces. December 1971 to July 1972. With Simla behind him, Bhutto could focus more of his time and thought on how to release the great energies, unleash the great force, part of which would be nuclear power. Zulfi's opponents were wrong in charging him with signing secret agreements with India. He continued openly to insist that we believe the dispute of Jammu and Kashmir exists and that it could be peacefully resolved only through acceptance of the principle of self determination. There is nothing in the Simla document which says that we shall not go to the United Nations. It is true, the emphasis is on bilateral efforts, but it does not say that we cannot go to the United Nations. Bhutto's major secret agreements, however, were those he reached with Libya and China, and he continued covertly but assiduously to pursue dealings with France for raw materials and advanced technology. Pakistan required those French resources to build enough nuclear weapons to overcome the temporary military setbacks suffered in 1965 and 1971. It could then defeat India in the next and, it was hoped, final round in the South Asian War. In August 1972, shortly after returning from Simla, President Bhutto ordered his three new service chiefs of staff to put right the basic weaknesses in Pakistan's armed forces. We have spent many billions on defense with the result that this country is bankrupt and mortgaged to foreign debt. But we were unable to fight for more than 17 days in 1965 and for about 14 days in 1971. In a top secret memo, Bhutto noted that although Pakistan was always threatened by aggression from India, its military leaders do not seem to learn from mistakes. In 1965, Ayub Khan did not think that India could cross the international border. Later, he threw the blame on the Foreign Office. In 1971, Yahya Khan was convinced that India would not attack East Pakistan. Now, I want everything to be organized systematically and scientifically. There must be no let up. We should start building air raid shelters in the right places. There should be an underground operations room. There should be an underground arrangement for the cabinet to meet. Our aeroplanes should be better protected. Oil depots should be tucked away safely in the hills or underground. We should have an alternative oil pipeline from Iran to Pakistan. The camouflage of important buildings should be of a permanent nature. Zulfi had told the National Assembly in defending the Simla Agreement, if you want the people of Kashmir to secure the right of self-determination, they must fight for it. Self-determination cannot be achieved by proxy. If tomorrow the people of Kashmir start a freedom movement, we will be with them. We have not compromised anything. We will fight if we want to fight. This is an eternal position. By now, all opposition had melted before the fire of his eloquence. The patriotic fervor of his message quickened each Pakistani pulse, awakening dreams all but abandoned. Sir, much mockery has been made of the policy of confrontation and a thousand-year war, but it is a fact that the people of Pakistan accepted this concept. What does a thousand-year war mean? It means that the nation will never surrender its rights till eternity. We have lived 1,000 years in the subcontinent. 1,000 years are nothing in the future. If the people of Pakistan say we will fight for our rights till eternity, then we will fight. It may be 1,000 years, it may be 10,000 years. Cheers of acclamation arose. The agreement signed in Simla carried by an almost unanimous vote. All Bhutto stood for and said had dreamed of and meant echoed the deepest hopes of the Muslims of Sindh and Punjab and of the frontier as well, though the leaders who ruled in Balochistan and the northwest frontier were not of his people's party. Still, their hearts beat in tune with his, and their equally hot blood surged as his voice reached its febrile pitch of power. A defeated man cannot understand the meaning of 1,000 years long struggle. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto has not been a traitor to the cause of Pakistan's struggle. Victory and defeat are transitory events in the life of a nation. I can look down the vista of years and see the vision of victory after 1,000 years. What can we do if we did not have men enough? If we had chicken usurpers, avaricious and corrupt individuals ruling Pakistan? Could not we live in 1962, confront India and take Kashmir? But at the time, the field marshal was hiding in Hunza. Why do I admire Napoleon? Because Napoleon was the last professional soldier who went to war as a matter of policy. Professional soldiers do not go to war. It is only civilian leaders who go to war. At the end of his first 6 months in power, President Bhutto had managed to win back by diplomacy in Simla the tracts of Sindh and Punjab, lost to India, and he managed to buy precious time to rebuild his army and his people's spirit. With his skill of drafting ambiguous documents while professing faith in eternal principles, he carried the often rebellious National Assembly with him. Moreover, by much the same force and mesmerizing blend of oratory and conviction that had won him such popular electoral support in 1970. He had proved more agile and resourceful, indeed, more brilliant than his stoutest supporters had expected him to be. He surprised most of his party stalwarts first by retaining the cover of martial law while it was useful, then by discarding it with such alacrity once it became a political liability. He was never squeamish about shifting a position or stand, and his timing was almost the match of the ease with which he could debate both sides of any questions. Yet, even his genius at debate and his deft political maneuvering could not indefinitely hold at bay mounting provincial and socio-economic pressures, frustrations, and discontent that kept Pakistan's most crowded urban centers and depressed rural backwaters boiling with ethnic and linguistic violence. The army proved only a temporary deterrent to the violence, which challenged Zulfi Bhutto's claims to political success for the rest of his last turbulent half decade in power.